Hey there guys, welcome back. Today I wanted to try to answer a question that I receive quite often, and that is, what are the best power tools to start off with for the beginning do-it-yourselfer? Like many questions of this nature, there's absolutely no one right answer, and it's going to depend on many different things. Your needs, what you can afford, and ultimately, what are your goals? Do you want to become a professional woodworker, a handyman, or be more like myself, just being very average or not very good at a lot of different things? So those are just some things to consider. In this, I'll try to talk about a few different things like brand names. Are brand names important? Should you consider them when you're getting ready to buy tools? When you're purchasing tools, should you get them new, used, or refurbished? And then maybe some of the pros and cons of battery operated versus corded tools. And then after that, I'll talk about maybe the first 5 to 7 or 8 tools that I think would be good to start out with. And then once you have those tools, maybe some of the tools that you can kind of graduate to after that. So let's get to it. So one of the first things that people kind of get caught up in when selecting a new tool is the brand name of the tool. And is a brand name important? In some respects, yes, it is important, and in other respects, it isn't. Usually a brand name is indicative of a company's history of providing a quality product or providing a good warranty or something like that. But it all depends on what you're hoping to do with that tool. So I've set up a little example here with some drill bits. I didn't have this selection of brands in tools, but I do have it in drill bits. So let's just say that we're going to be doing a lot of woodworking with pine or other softwoods and drilling a lot of holes. So this DeWalt set will represent the higher tiered brands. This Ryobi will be kind of like a mid-level consumer brand, and this generic set right here is just going to be generic. For drilling holes in pine and other softwoods, these drill bits are going to make just as clean of a hole as either of these two. They're just going to be a little bit cheaper, or quite a bit cheaper. But if we wanted to become a woodworker that's doing stuff with eBay and drilling in metal and different things like that, it might be worth it to spend the extra money to get some of the higher graded or higher quality branded tools. So I hope that kind of explains that a little bit, and we'll get on to the next issue, which is, should you buy used, new, or refurbished tools? When you're getting ready to purchase your tools, you're generally going to have 3 different options from which to choose from. New tools, used tools, and refurbished or factory reconditioned tools. There's going to be advantages and disadvantages to all of them. Starting off with the new tools, generally new tools will perform as expected, have the greatest life expectancy, as well as carry a manufacturer's warranty. Additionally, they will come with all their manuals, parts, pieces, and any accessories that accompany the tool. The disadvantage is they are the most expensive option, so it will limit the amount of tools you can acquire. On the other side, refurbished tools have a couple of advantages. Generally, they are cheaper than the new tools, and in many cases, they will also carry a manufacturer's warranty, although it's much more limited than the new tool. But it's still a warranty nonetheless, and I generally like a warranty. However, the disadvantage is during the refurbishing process, sometimes these tools go to the refurbisher and they test them mechanically, and assuming they work fine, the only thing they really do is just clean them up, change a few of the plastic facade pieces, and just get them looking new. So you really have no idea truly how old or worn that tool is. Now with that said, both of these tools I acquired from a refurbisher about 4 to 5 years ago, and they've been performing pretty much as brand new tools ever since. Now the third option, and the option I'm most passionate about, is used tools. Whether or not you get them through Craigslist, family, or friends, they offer the advantage of being very cheap. And the other advantage of them being cheap is that you can acquire a multitude of other tools or capabilities in place of the purchase of a new tool. So for instance, the price that I may spend on this, I might be able to get this drill, a saw, a sander, and something else for that same price. However, the disadvantage is you don't know what the person before you that owned this tool, what they did to the tool, how they maintained it, or if there's any safety issues, or if it's just truly a dud. So anyway, I hope that maybe explains those 3 different options, and let's head on to the next section. Another thing that you're going to want to consider in the selection of tools is whether or not to get a corded tool or a battery operated tool. There's distinct disadvantages and advantages to both, and I'll point some of those out now, starting with the corded tool. In the case of mini corded tools, they can be purchased slightly cheaper at the store because they don't require extra batteries, and they can be cheaper in the long run because they don't require extra batteries. Oftentimes they produce more power, and in some cases they can be longer lasting. In the case of this drill, this is 30 plus years old. It's not a fancy drill, and it works perfectly fine today, just as it did when it was first purchased. However, inconveniently, they're oftentimes heavier, and they have cords that you have to plug in. That's where the battery operated tools really get the advantage. Is they're convenient, they're quick, and in the case of most modern day battery operated tools, they have ample power for just about any job that you might need. In my case, there are several tools like drills and circular saws where I choose to have both of them. Obviously the corded tools can go for a longer period of time and work a little bit harder, like especially drilling maybe through thick steel. I'll choose this one. But for the rest of the projects, I'm going to choose the lighter and quicker and more convenient option. So hopefully that gives you maybe a little insight in the battery operated and corded realm, and we'll get on to the next part. So here's my selection of tools I think might be a good start for the beginning do-it-yourselfer. Please keep in mind that these selections have been made, number one, to be budget conscious, number two, to be compact and storable, and number three, to be multi-purpose. So some of these tools may not be the best at their functions, but they are cheap or can serve multi-purposes. So the first one I'm going to start with is the standard cordless drill. You'll use this on just about every project or repair. It turns screws or drives screws, drills holes, and you can add little attachments like wire wheels to strip rust and paint off of things as well. Great tool, very indispensable. The next tool is going to be your primary cutting tool, and that's going to be a circular saw. Can a table saw or a miter saw do a better job at certain things? Yes, but they can't beat this price and this amount of portability. This can rip wood, it can cut angles, and it can even cut compound angles as well. So I think it's a great option for the starting out person. The next one is going to be a reciprocating saw. This is also a multi-purpose tool. I use this a ton to break down pallets. I just cut directly through the nails. And it can also cut curves, it can cut metal. And another thing you can do is add a pruning blade in here and use it to trim trees. So it's just a great option, and I have gotten a great use out of them. My next option is going to be an oscillating tool like this. This is actually a relatively new tool that I have, but I'm just recently discovering the amount of multi-purpose tasks that it can function as. You can attach sanding bits to this, it can plunge cut, it can do very detailed cuts, and it can do a lot of different repairs. It can also cut metal, and it's just a good, convenient option to do a lot of different things, and so that's why I selected it. The next tool I wanted to point out is a general purpose handheld belt sander. This obviously can smooth any amount of wood just with your hands like normal, but what I also like to use it as is if you can clamp it to a workbench upside down, it can serve as a benchtop sander. You can sharpen rudimentary like garden tools. If you have a fine enough belt, you can even do chisels, different things like that. Obviously you don't want to ruin their temper, but it just has a lot of different functions, and these are very cheap. I got this one for $17 at Harbor Freight. The next tool I'm going to say is a jigsaw. These can be bought for 10, 15 bucks on Craigslist all day long. They can cut curves. They can also do similar cuts to a bandsaw. Can they do them as well as a bandsaw? Absolutely not, but it's also a lot cheaper than a bandsaw. And then the final power tool I'm going to recommend that everyone have is a Dremel. There's just a multitude of different things that they can do. Drill holes, grinding, sanding. They have about 1,000 attachments for them, and they're relatively affordable. So that's just my general selection of first tools. They're not all the tools I think would be important. Some of the other ones I think would be important. an impact driver, driving screws. It makes it so easy. And then I'll just touch on some of the other tools. A table saw, obviously a great tool, but I didn't select it because it is bigger and not in everybody's realm of purchasing power. A miter saw, a band saw, a air or pneumatic nailer, I use a ton, a drill press, benchtop sander, and a bench grinder would also be things I would recommend looking at as well. So that's pretty much it. Maybe I'll do a follow-up video for like manual tools or those secondary tools like a table saw or a bandsaw or things like that. But I hope that gives you a good idea of maybe if you happen to be in the market for looking for entry-level tools. So as always, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.